Hello viewers, Super GT here. Welcome to one of the most fun races I've had in a long time, but also one of the filthiest. This is Daily Race A in the classic Golf GTI. Just look at it. Now this race, it turned out to be really cool, really good fun, but with a side order of chaos, and we're going to see a load of that at the first corner. Now I jumped in here, this is my very first race, didn't qualify. As you can see, starting 12th out of 12, already up into 11th, that guy not really getting a good start. But I introduce you to Exhibit A, which is Super GT sending a Russian to the Shadow Realm. There he goes, just completely disappears. And there's obviously only one explanation for that, and that is Ram Shadow has another victim. And we get a 2-second penalty. I mean, fair enough. If anything, that's a little bit of a light sentence. You know, if in real life you got a 2-second prison sentence for sending someone to the Shadow Realm, I would say you probably got off quite lightly there. But enough of that, we continue. You're going to have to serve this 2-second penalty, of course. And the penalty zone is just after turns 5 and 6, which we are coming up to here. And this race is really characterised by being very close normally. It's just normally the nature of these slower cars that people can race closer, but then also the slipstream is really important. So you get this really close formation of a pack, and you're going to see that throughout the course of this first lap, especially. Okay, so here's the penalty line. I'm going to serve it. I'm going to drop off slightly, and then come down into the hairpin. You can see the group there just in front, really, really close battling. So we're going to skip forward to the chicane here at the end of lap 1, so just a 3-lap race, but it is a fairly lengthy lap in a car of this speed. It takes about 2 minutes 40 or longer to do. So coming through the final corner, now just looking ahead of that pack, you see just how close it is. I get a good exit here out of the final turn, and the thing I noticed quite quickly is that this race is about slipstream, as you can see, trying to get in the toe of the cars in front, but also just being in the right gear at the right time. Normally in these slower cars, you need to just be in the correct gear coming through the corners, because the gear shifts are so slow, you don't want to do too many of them. I think someone else got sent to the Shadow Realm there. I just saw someone else disappear, and that means we go up into 7th place. And yes, someone did just completely teleport back in time and lose a couple of positions up into 7th. So even though this race started off quite badly with a 2-second prison sentence, we've actually found ourselves moving up the order and towards this pack at the front, only 2 seconds away from first place at this point in time, with pretty much half the race, or just over half the race, left to go. And they're going in there about 3 abreast, which obviously isn't ideal. They're only slowing each other down in that group up ahead, and that's only going to help me to try to find my way back into this race with a chance of winning, potentially. You just never quite know what's going to happen in these races. And perhaps this is a sign that I maybe should do more of these daily race A's, because they can actually be really, really good fun. Jumping down into the hairpin at the bottom of the hill, and we've got a German on the right hand side come flying through. I'm going to drop back down to 7th. So the Frenchmen there getting pincer attacked by the Germans as we come up into the Schumacher-S. And this half of the race, or this lap, is where things really begin to take a downward turn. Mainly because of my company here in the German immediately ahead of the French guy. We do seem to form what's something resembling World War II, as the German comes in for a big savage lunge out of nowhere. I'm going to go up the inside here through the second half of this chicane. It's not really a chicane though, is it? I suppose it's just a long left into a long right. Frenchman gets a penalty. I'm not quite sure exactly what that came from, but he does. Perhaps I'm just going off the track, but it looks like he was forced into that. As we come through the kink into the chicane at the end of the lap. So the German behind is a bit worried about him, because he'd have a rather savage lunge on this French guy. So as we come through the chicane, it looks like I cut that one slightly, and yes, I did. There we go, penalty. Not very good timing on that penalty, as we were getting really good momentum there through this group, and we're going to have to serve this penalty. We're going to join the Frenchman in serving this penalty. Now coming down here, I really wanted to get a move on here, so I was going to push the French guy, bump draft him, so we can catch up with the guys ahead. But for some reason he wants to put his brakes on. That doesn't really help. As we come into turn 1 then, going for the wider line on the way in. Frenchman going defensive. Coming through here, trying to keep in second gear. The car really does seems to just bog down when you shift up too early. And we're going to go for the cutback out of turn 2 up the inside of Frenchman. And we're going to take the position here into turn 3, are we? Yes, we are. He goes a little bit wide, and we can take the position. Up to 5th. It's looking ever increasingly more difficult to get into that top 4, who seem to be pulling away and also don't have penalties. So this looks like very much battle for 5th at best, with the 2 guys just behind the German and the Danish driver in close attendance. So once we serve this penalty, which we're both going to do here, as we come to the line, we're both going to serve now. We're going to have company from behind in the form of the German and the Danish guy down into the hairpin. And obviously this French guy really just was not happy. Just going to come sending in out of nowhere, sign sealed and lunged at the hairpin. So not happy about something. As we come up the hill then, side by side with the German. And is it necessary to go for a revenge lunge on the Frenchman? I don't think so, because we can just send our good German friend here to do it for us, as he did it previously on lap 2. So is he gonna send? He thought about it. He actually almost made that work. But we do have the chicane coming up, the big final chicane, which is obviously a hot spot for bother. We're going to see that unfold as we wind around the kink for the final time in this race. And he's going to pull out. He's going to absolutely send it out of nowhere. They're going to make contact through the corner. Frenchman has to resort to cutting the track. Gets himself a 1 second penalty. I'm back ahead of the German, who has a 0.5 second penalty. Not sure how that one worked. This new penalty system is a little bit dodgy. But all I have to do here is stick within 1 second of this guy. And I'm going to overhaul him on the line, which we do here. There we go, up into 5th place. So it turns out I didn't actually have to overtake him. I just let the German wipe him out instead. There we go. Okay, so we move on into the post-race lobby. And the Frenchman wasn't happy. He just clearly did not enjoy what was going on there. And he said, Shadow GT report. Okay, well, I had to let him know that this was actually a good idea. Yeah, no problem, mate. That's a good idea. Because this is the only time we made contact, when I was trying to bump draft him and then he braked. So, okay, you can report me for that. And the stewards will see. Well, probably the stewards will just give me a 10-year ban because they're quite drunk recently. We go again. I improved my qualifying lap. Our good French friend is just over there on the other side of the pack. So we're a little bit further up on the grid. That should hopefully help. I only had enough time to do 1 lap, so I couldn't really get the best possible lap. But we move a little bit further forward. So through turn 1, no Shadow Realm entries this time around. Always good, and no penalties to report of. So up the inside of this guy, we're going to go up into 6th place, are we? Yes, we are, just about. Now, take a look at our French friend as he takes a nice little punt of the Italian. The innocent Italian just gets sent wide. And it makes sense now when he said report. What he meant was, he didn't mean I'm going to report you. He meant you should report me. So I guess I have to report him now. He was telling me what to do, not what he's going to do. Makes sense now. He gets a 2 second penalty. The Italian just in front here gets a 1 second. So we're going to move up a couple of positions here, as the penalty zone is just around here. Frenchman going in for another massive lunge on the Croatian driver. And well, that confirms that we do need to report him, it looks like. So come down the hill. Frenchman are going to serve the penalty. The lunging madman. Up the inside of the Croatian, side by side now, into the hairpin. As the British driver in the lead just running away with it. A couple of bits of contact, and this is the thing about this race, it just seemed like not many people had too much sense. Lots of contact, lots of constant contact in the rear. As we come up the hill, we're going to try to catch up with the British driver, who's got himself a 2 second gap. And 2 seconds might not seem like a lot, but in these cars it takes an eternity to cover that ground. Now we do catch up. We were just about in the slipstream, coming down the back straight. Take the hairpin chicane, a little bit better, and that gap comes down to about a second as we come up into the final corner. So just trying to pull away from the Croatian driver behind, as we try to catch up then with the British guy in the lead here. Into turn 1, he goes a little bit deep. We really do want to hook up with the apex and do that. Keep in second gear and then rev it out into third. As we catch up now, we still have a lap and a half to go. Now this kind of shows you it's really hard to pull away in this race. It's not easy just to get a gap and just pull away, because the guys behind can just get in the tow and you get pulled along. So it's almost impossible just to really just easily drive off into the distance in this one, which makes it a really cool race. It's very hard actually to just easily win this one, as everyone behind kind of stick with you quite easily. So a 49.5, that's a decent first sector. Anything below 50 is pretty good for that first sector. Go a little bit deep into turn 6 here. Get on the power nice and early. Goes a little bit wide there, does the Brit. Dipping 2 wheels into the gravel. We are pulling away from the Croatian guy slightly. So this guy knows obviously that I'm approaching, goes defensive. I'm going to keep him over to the right hand side as long as possible and swing back to the left. He's going to go deep as expected, and we can just invade that space, which is what Brits are good at doing. But he's actually got the better momentum on the way out of the turn, so I'm trying to keep it in third gear there. It didn't quite work as well as I would have liked. As we come through Schumacher S side by side, tiny bit of door banging between us. It's good racing, and he gets the position back and tucked back into that slipstream. The Croatian there just lurking ominously in the near distance behind, and he's waiting for the British Civil War to kick off, and then he's going to take full advantage most probably. We actually get ourselves a 1 second penalty, so obviously just cutting that corner a little bit too much, just going a little bit beyond the curb, and I'm going to have to pay for that on the next lap. So the main strategy now, I suppose, is just to try to get into the lead so that when I serve this penalty I'm as far ahead as I could possibly be, go up the inside, or at least try to force him into an error, and he does make that error by going a little bit too wide and too fast into the chicane. We're going to get a good exit here into the final corner and take the lead into first place with 1 lap to go with a 1 second penalty. So it's going to be quite tough here to keep this win. We're going to serve this penalty now. So we're going to drop down at least that 1 position there. So the Brit goes back into the lead. Now coming into the hairpin at the bottom of the hill, and we're going to receive some contact from behind, not just once but twice, as the Croatian driver just comes through. I'm just going to let him know about that. I'm going to let him go back ahead, but just let him know that that wasn't appreciated. But as we come up the hill, he's going to go defensive. Going to try to force him to the narrow side, to try to get maybe a better exit. But my plans get scuppered from behind as we receive yet more contact. And it's it's really kicking off on this last lap. And unfortunately for the Italian behind, that's set him into a bad way, as the Frenchman, our French friend, comes out of nowhere and comes up into 4th place. So this race, a bit of a topsy-turvy one, could have gone my way. Eventually it didn't, ending it in 3rd. I suppose as starting 7th though, not too bad at all. So 2 seconds away from the win, finishing 3rd. We got a little bit better. Finished 5th, then 3rd, and now we go for another one. Just letting him know that was some really clean driving, our French friend. And he didn't really appreciate that, obviously. But I asked him for a friend request, and well, he actually said yes. This is I don't really understand what's going on here. So what I did, I moved on to the top 10 leaderboard and studied the top time of TRL Adam, the only person to do a sub 2:40. At least in our region, at least in the EMEA region. And just watching his gear strategy, so in here goes down to 2nd, back up to 3rd, and obviously absolutely making the most of the track limits as much as possible. It's really about momentum in this car. So coming down into here, I think I was right to keep it in 3rd gear, as he keeps it in 3rd, but if you get the wrong line slightly, even just a tiny bit wrong, then it really does bog down, so you have to get it dead right. So I tried to match that the best I could, my best lap being a 2:41.8 on this session here, on my first lap, but I went a little bit better here. So in 2nd gear, just revving it out a little bit more, coming out of this corner. So you see how long you can leave that revving in second gear before shifting up to third. So doing the second to third, shifting through there, and it seemed to get me out a little bit better as we come out of turn number 4, and then into the hairpin at the bottom of the hill. So going a little bit deep, you want to go quite deep, and then you're going to come back for that late apex. So you're on the power early, and then powering all the way up this hill, because you're flat out from here all the way for about 20 seconds. So you really do need to get a good exit through the chicane at the end of the lap. Missed the first apex by a little bit, but nailing the second, and we improved to a 241.7, which should put us nearer the front of the pack for the final race. Can we go one better or two better and finish in first place? We had a 5th, we had a 3rd, and now we go again. Traction control on, setting 1 just off the line in first gear, and then you can get rid of it, and that seems to get you off the line quite quickly. Now coming down towards turn 1, do we go for the move here? The space is very much open. We're just going to hit a normal braking point, try to clip the apex. It goes quite deep, we're going to go side by side here. I'm not sure what happened, it looked like he hit a cone. If you look at the radar, he seemed to just jolt backwards, and we're just going to slot in ahead. That was very, very close indeed. Well, we've just about managed to take the lead, but as I said earlier in the video, it's tough to stay in the lead. So we're going to have to get some creative strategies out here to try to break the toe, or maybe back him up into the British pack behind. So we have our Croatian friend here, and we've got 3 British drivers, so hopefully some colonialism intensifies behind us, and the guys in 3rd, 4th and 5th feel like invading 2nd place. That hopefully is the plan, but it doesn't always work. So as we come down the hill for the first time, this is the corner I was really scared of, because I was getting constantly lunged here. Maybe I was too late on the brakes, but I'm not sure. So I went a little bit deeper to try to prevent it from happening, and luckily it didn't happen. We managed to not get lunged on this occasion. Decent enough exit, stayed in 3rd gear, just trying to break the toe, staying over to the right hand side. I don't think you need to go fully to the right hand side here anyway, because you can take this corner flat out more than easily. Then waiting and waiting and waiting, absolutely ragging the crap out of the engine before shifting up into 4th, and then turning into this next left-hander, looking for the 100 board. Perhaps go a little bit later than that, but we carry enough speed through there, and then over to the left-hand side, and then through this one you can really get on the power very early, and you do need to do that, of course. Get on the power as early as you can before you power out onto the straight. We've got a nice little margin there, just opening up, more than half a second. A little bit later on, so out of turn 4 on lap number 2, he's flashing his lights, obviously letting me know of something, I'm not quite sure what. I'm just constantly trying to break the toe, just trying to annoy him basically, just trying to get over to one side of the track, just try and break their toe as desperately as possible. Also just to try to get into the head of the guy behind you, just to try to annoy them, frustrate them, get them off their game in any way that you possibly can. As we come down into the hairpin, I should be just about far away enough to survive a lunge. He does get quite close on the radar, but not close enough to go for the move. So he's good on the entry, but losing a little bit of speed on the exit. As you can see, I'm just pulling away slightly as we come up the hill. By the time we get to the chicane, I had 3/4 of a second. Decent margin, but he took a really good line and he cut that down by a couple of tenths. So quite worryingly caught up quite well. So he's more than within range of going for some sort of move on the final lap then. As we come out the final corner, he's got a 1 second penalty. This is very good news for me, and I was just very wary about what he's going to do now. Is his plan going to change? Because he needs to be very aggressive if he wants to stand a chance of winning. So I was very, very ready for the eventuality of him doing a massive lunge into the first corner. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. Looking at the radar, just let him send it out of nowhere. First class delivery, signed, sealed and delivered. But unfortunately for him, it didn't pay off as we cut him back. Coming down towards the penalty zone, he served it, and colonialism intensified as the British drivers tried to overhaul him, and one of them does. In fact, as we come out to the final corner, it all changed, and we had a British 1-2-3 and no doubt at all that the Queen would be extremely proud of this fateful moment for British history. But that is the end of this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it. It was a really good fun race. I really do recommend giving this one a go, as I really did enjoy it. But that is all from me. Let me know your thoughts on the video. Like, subscribe for plenty more of the same, and I shall see you next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.